Hello, my name is Clive from Clive's 5 Art, and thank you very much for joining me here in Wales, where I paint away the stress of everyday life. Now, as a beginner, I know acrylics can be very daunting, and if you've never painted with acrylics before, or you want to try acrylics, I thought this would be good for you, because I've been asked to paint quite a simple painting for a friend, and I thought I would combine that with several questions I get asked repeatedly as well. So I thought, that would make for a good video.
It's time to learn with our friend Clive. So grab your brush, have a great time. And don't forget to click subscribe.
So thank you very much for joining me in the studio, as I've said. So looking at the palette, as we normally do on every session, I thought let's just simplify the palette completely. I've got some processed blue, which is just like a neutral blue. I've got some processed yellow. Again, that's like a neutral yellow. It's got no well, we're not going to go into that. I got some Mars black and some white. So basically all you need is blue, yellow, black and white, because I'm going to talk to you as if you've never painted with acrylics before, and I thought I don't want to confuse you with all different things. So the first thing we do, we use a palette. Normally it's a wet palette. I've been asked about this a lot. All that does is stops the evaporation of the moisture out of the paint, because it's trapped underneath. I got a little bit of kitchen paper. For those people who have watched this before, they understand what this is. There's a little bit of kitchen paper, kitchen roll, which is this stuff. There you go, which you use for mopping up in the kitchen. That's put down, is soaked with some water, and it's put a bit of parchment paper, greaseproof paper, baking paper on top of that, and basically all that does is just trap moisture. So the next thing I'm asked is, do I use any mediums and things like that? And basically I just use, you can just use tap water, but it is a way to actually add different mediums and things into that. Now I use what they call a medium mix formula. There you go. I produce that and make that, and that's available at www.clive5art.co.uk, and I use this only. I don't use water. Now I just use that. And basically, if you use too much water to the paint, over say 47%, 50%, then it's going to break down the paint, and it's going to cause it to give you problems in the future. Not immediately, but in the future, things could happen to that. And all this information is available in the iCards there. So there are videos there that will pop up. You will see a little bar come up, and this is going to explain in more detail what I'm talking about today. Anyway, with that said, I'm just looking at my little canvas panel, and I thought, yes, it would be good to paint something. My friend wanted something for her kitchen, and she asked for something green, something to do with the kitchen, something Spanish, Italian type of theme, just a basic little thing. This is going to be a series of about 6 paintings that I'm going to do, and I thought, let's work on this. So brushes. Let's grab a brush. Let's grab a brush. There we go. So I always make sure that my brushes soak a little bit in water first. You can see I got a couple of brushes soak in there, and all that does, it allows the moisture to get into the bristles, and it doesn't suck the moisture out of the paint so much. So it's not going to dry as quick if your bristles are moist. Unlike bristles, proper bristles, natural bristles, these are monofilament. In other words, they're man-made, made out of plastic. Basically, it's like fishing line and stuff like that. That's basically what it is, a monofilament bristle. So we'll talk about brushes in a second. So what I thought I'd do, we need to make some green, so let's get some yellow. There we go. This is just like a basic color, a basic yellow. There we are. It's got no bias. In other words, it's not a cool yellow, and it's not a warm yellow, and it's not gonna be influenced by any other colors in that. So it's a neutral yellow. And as I said, if you want to know about colors and bias, there are things in the iCards there. A little bit of blue. Let's make a green. So you can see blue and yellow make green. And I mix my paint with a brush. Sometimes if you're mixing a vast amount of paint, I would suggest you use a palette knife. But in this case, I'm just using a brush. I'm going to get some white because I want to lighten this down. And you can see if you add white to a colour, it's just going to get brighter. There you go. I'll add a bit more white. Get it nice and bright. There we go. Now I'm going to add a touch more blue to that. You can see it's going to go cooler. A little bit more blue. We're going to get a cooler light green by just doing that. There we are. We're going to get into the colour that I'm looking for. Like as I said, your brush can get really bogged with paint if you're doing it like this. So be mindful. If you want to mix a lot of paint, use a palette knife. But I'm quite happy just mixing paint like that. So is that a colour I'm happy with? Well, first of all, I'm going to take the excess paint off my brush like that onto a little bit of kitchen room. I'm going to look at my canvas and I'm going to just go like that and sit back and think, yeah, I need to make that a bit bluer. So let's just add a bit more blue to it. And try that again. And you can see the difference between the first colour and the second colour. So we just need a bit more blue and a little bit more white. And you play around with a colour until you're happy to find a colour that you want. I'm quite happy with that because I know this, the theme in my friend's kitchen is green, so I thought I would work on a nice green theme. There you go. I'm just going to go around just like this. I'm brushing the paint in, using a little bit of moisture. You notice I don't use a lot of moisture. And I don't say add water, I say add moisture to the paint. And don't keep dunking your brush into a pot of water, because you only need a small amount of water, look, like that. And if you follow some of these tips, again, as I said, in the iCards there, you'll see them coming along. That'll take you into a lot more information than I can possibly give you during this video. It doesn't have to be perfect, and that's what I like about it. This particular type of painting, I don't want to be 100% perfect. I want it to look like a painting, and not like a print. So that's the trouble. Sometimes we get so used to going to shops and buying prints, and prints can be so perfectly done, and it's not the same as actually getting something painted, or even painting it yourself. And these type of things you can quite easily do at home. So I've just pulled a little bit of white. You see that little bit of yellow contamination I got on that white, so I've just pulled a bit of that yellow into this white there, like that. And I'm going to get this centerpiece just merging in to that green. I'm just going to pull a little bit of that just in around. Now before, you've got to be mindful of your paint, because I know that's going to start to dry up there. So very quickly I'm just going to wash my brush, get that paint out of it, wipe it in my kitchen roll like that, get a little bit of moisture then just on the brush, and I'm just going to blend that into that green like this. Just getting rid of those hard edges. And what we're trying to do then is develop an area where you don't know where the centerpiece starts and the green starts. You're just merging those two things together like that. And again, back into this colour now. Oops, wrong colour. Talking too much. Back into the white. There we go. Back into the white. And again, doing the same with this side, just like that. And just play with the paint and get used to the brush, because there's different types of brushes that we need to think about when we paint in, especially with acrylics, because you can use so many different types of brushes with acrylics. You can use natural bristles, and you can use like the man-made fibers like this, and just doing the same thing on this side now, just merging this in, blending that colour together, just like that. So there's many different types of brushes we can consider. There's flat ones, there's round ones, there's pointy ones, there's long thin ones, and there's just numerous number of brushes. So where do we start with brushes? Well, as I said up in the iCards there, that's going to take you into some videos about brushes, and that way then that'll explain a little bit more. But I thought it would be a good idea, as I'm waiting for the centerpiece to dry. I'm just going to get a little bit more white now in the center. So just put pure white, and again just using the brush to get that nice bright area in the center there, like that. It's a simple painting, but very effective painting that we're going to be doing today. And what we need to do is that little bright spot just there, and again with a brush we just need to blend that through like that. Very, very effective background that we've got going on there today. So I'm just putting my brush down and concentrate on the palette in front of me, and I want to go through a couple of brushes very quickly. So you've got, these are bristle brushes. These are natural bristle brushes, which you will find for oil paints, which you can use for, you can see that, may be able to see the dust coming off that, but you can use for acrylics. You know, you mustn't let these soak in the water for too long, because they will cause problems, and you must make sure that you clean them really well. And that is a long handled bristle there. Again, this is another type of bristle brush that you'll see me using for doing trees and things, and I'll explain these in more detail in the video that I said is going to be shooting across the screen there. We've got things called fan brushes. These are used for doing grasses and trees and fur on animals. They're also used for blending in colours, especially with oils. You can blend with those. Again, you've got these in natural bristle, and you've got these in man-made fibres as well. So there's your little fan brushes. Again, we've also got some nice long thin brushes like this. These are called script liners. For the reason is that you used to use these in sign writing for doing script work and pin lines and things like that. But these are wonderful for doing grasses and fine details on rigging, on boats and things like that, if you're into painting boats. We've got a series then of short flats. There you go. These are just like a square brush. These are all man-made fibres, and these are the longer version of those. You can see you've got a longer bristles on that one, and that's these are short flats. There you go. There's things that we call filberts and stuff like that, and there's all these other different types of brushes, which I basically want to go over in those videos. And we got detail brushes there. These are the pointy ones. There's another size detail. These detail brushes go all the way up to big ones, and this is a very, very short. This is like a detail brush, but it's a thin, long-haired one. And again, what I tend to use these for is things like hair, fur, eyebrows, or very, very fine detail work, grasses, leaves on distant trees and things like that. These are, you know, at the end of the day, it's nice to have a selection of brushes, was what I'm trying to say to you. And the other thing you'll find when you buy a brush, it's like this particular one from, this is a System 3 Daler and Roney brush. You'll see they got these little plastic covers over them. Now it's good to keep these, Don't throw them away. But you'll find that's very hard because they've got a coating on them. So you need to wash your brushes first before you use them. Wash your brushes first like that. And after you've used them, give them a good clean in some soap and some water. Wash them out. Just rub it very gently onto some soap like that. Reshape your brush. Lay it down flat. Let it dry. And once it's dried, then you can replace these covers onto your brushes, and you know they're going to be protected. Now I don't always do that myself personally, and many artists don't. But you know, it's a good practice if you can practice to do that. It's a good practice to have. Anyway, enough about brushes. So hopefully we're nearly dry. The other thing you can do with acrylics is get a hairdryer, and let's just dry this off now, and I'll come back to you when I've done that. So the other thing I'm asked is, can you actually draw on acrylic paint? Well, the best method I find is using a charcoal pencil. Like, if you haven't got a charcoal pencil, you could use just an ordinary carbon pencil. Both would work really well. So we need to think of a line. In this particular instance, I want a line coming down like that. And you can see the charcoal pencil takes a little bit of work. Takes a little bit of work just to get your line in place. But the charcoal pencil being softer, you'll find that this will leave a little darker line, and it's a little bit easier just to draw a line on like that. See? It's good. And then we'll come down like this. And draw another line like that. Let me think now. So we need another line. And just practice when you're beginning. Just play and learn. Basically, that's all we need to do. Be children in our minds and paint something really well, but simple. Don't beat yourself up over something. At the end of the day, art is art, and all we're looking to do is just to create something of our own and enjoy the process. Like that. So I hope you can see roughly what I'm trying to do here. Anyway, we will work that out in 1 second. So I'm going to block that in now, using a couple of the brushes that I said originally. So the first brush I'm going to do is, let's get this nice long detail-y brush. There we are. You remember I mentioned that one just a minute ago. So we need to mix some green, and I'm going to show you how I mix green with a palette knife. I think it'd be easier. Always have a palette knife. It's always handy to have a palette knife. Keep them cleaner than I keep mine. That's important. So let's get some green mixed up. We can use this green. There, add a bit more blue to this now. There we go. Add a bit more blue. Bit more yellow. And just get a nice green colour, just like that. Just basic colours. We don't need to worry too much about all the different colours and under the rainbow. All we're concentrating on is just green today. There we are, just green. Take a little bit of that one side, just like that, and we can get a bit of black to that, and then we're going to turn that into what they call a shade. Now if you want to do a little bit of colour mixing, again, look at the little bars going across. That's going to take you into some colour mixing lessons, and you can learn a little bit more about how to make shades and change the tones of a colour and all these other things. So we got a nice dark green there, just like that, and we can put a little bit of that dark green there and get a little bit of yellow to that dark green, and we can change the green again. So what I'm trying to say is you don't need to buy vast amount of paint either. If you understand how paint works, and you can change the way one particular green looks just by adding a little bit of black, maybe a little bit more yellow, maybe just a small touch of white. You can mix some fantastic greens with just a basic blue and a basic yellow. That's all I'm trying to say. So you've got 3 different colours there, and we could just put our palette knife one side, and we're going to wet that, and I'm going to go into the lightest green first. Now I'm going to stick with a cork on the end with a bit of rag on it. It's called a malk stick. You can quite easily make one of them, or you can get someone to make one for you. It's only a stick with a cork. You don't need to spend a vast amount of money. There you go. So I just picked up a bit of paint, a little bit of paint, and I'm just going to just draw in, just paint over my drawing, I should say. Just paint over my drawing like this. Like that. Now these simple paintings, I'm going to make a little series of these, because I think it's important that, especially as a beginner, you can learn all these different skills, and you can then advance then into something a little bit more challenging for yourself, because I think it's important that we don't jump in at the deep end, because if we can't swim, we need to learn to swim first. And all I'm trying to show there is a couple of methods that I think could help you on your journey to become a fantastic artist, by just doing some basic, easy paintings that you can not just paint, but you can distress as well. So I'm just going to change the brush, and I'm going to use another detail brush that we just mentioned. There we go. I'm just going to wet the bristles. Just wet the bristles. I'm going to get the slightly darker colour. I'm going to add a little bit of this to that, just to change. So basically I'm just adding a little bit of that to this, just to change the tonal colour. So you can see the difference between that tone and that tone. It's just a little bit darker, and that's all I want, just something a little bit darker. Because I'm thinking of olive. I'm thinking of olives. I'm thinking of olive colours. When we think of olive trees, we also think of giving somebody an olive branch, which is a gesture or something like that, and I think that's a good thing. That's a good thing to say. Maybe a little bit of the darker colour now. Let's go into the darker colour. It's a painting with meaning. And when we paint, sometimes I've got a bit too much paint on my brush there. When we paint, sometimes it's not the subject sometimes that we paint, it's the meaning behind it. Giving somebody an olive branch. There we are. Now I'm painting on a canvas panel today. It's a 10 by 8, and it's basically a piece of cardboard with some canvas over it. And it's cheaper to buy them than try and make your own. You could make your own. It's quite easy to make a canvas panel. But in my experience, really speaking, for the price of these things, because this thing was only about £1.50, something like that, maybe $2. I don't know what it is, the exchange rate, but you know, at the end of the day, it's a cheap bit of canvas that we can use. And I'm asked many times, how would you get that to stick on your board? Well, I'm going to answer that for you today now. There we go. Let me just put this stick down and explain to you how I've actually stuck that to the board. So we've got something in this country, and I'm sure you've got it in your country as well, wherever you may live. It's called a blue tack. And it's basically plastic. This just got a stickiness to it. And if I can find out where I put my blue tack, there it is. It's this stuff. So what you need to do is you need to warm it in your hand. You need to make sure it's nice and warm. And you could use this. I'm using a canvas panel. You can use it on cardboard. You can use it on canvas panels themselves. And you just basically need to do is get a little bit of this broken off like that. Warm it up in your hand, and then you just need to push that onto the corner like that, making sure it's nice and attached. And basically you put that on 4 corners and sometimes in the middle depending on the weight of the canvas, and you get that onto the board like that, and then you can just push that onto a board. Now the reason I do this is because I film. Majority of people can just use an easel as it is, but I use this for filming because it's not obstructed by anything, and that's basically all I've done to secure that to the board. There we go. So it's using blue tie. There we are. Full of information here today. So I'm just going to get another bit of a kitchen paper. I want to go slightly lighter, I think. I'm going to get a little bit of white just into this colour like that. So you could see I've got 3 different types of green already. I've got the green that I made up with the blue and the yellow there, adding a little bit of white to it. I've added a little bit of black to it to change the shade and the tone. So I've got a darker colour there. I've got a more olivey colour there. Now I've added a little bit of white to the lighter colour, and I'm changed that as well. So you can see how many greens I've actually got there, and I haven't had to work hard. So let's put a little bit of this in. Just like that. Painting over the lines. There you go. I'll just get a little bit of this colour. There, like that. And then just paint that in. Like that. So it's full of information today. So if you've never painted before, give it a try. You're quite happy. I'm quite happy for you to paint this. Have a go. You never know until you try. You never know until you try how you're going to succeed. And that's the most important thing. So I'm just going to dry that off very quickly, and then I'll just discuss very quickly then painting surfaces. That has been dried enough. It's a little bit wet here and there, but I'm not going to go back over that area anyway. So what I suggest you do is just repaint over the tops of these. If you wanted a stronger finish, I'm gonna do that after I finish filming. I just want to get the lesson out the way. So I'm going to paint over these again, maybe 1 or 2 layers, just to get it all nice and sharp and all nice and thick. There we go. So I'm going to do that later. I'm not going to do that now. I'm just giving you an idea now. So canvas. So we got canvases. These are what they call box canvases. There you go. This painting is actually available on YouTube. I'll try and put it in the iCards if I've got enough room. It's basically canvas stretched over a wooden frame like that, and there's little slots in there to put what they call keys in. That's all explained in videos that are going to be popping up on the iCards. Basically canvas, very cheap and inexpensive things, but they can be expensive as well, depending on how much you want to spend. If you're on the budget, I suggest you just go onto eBay and buy some card like this. This is framing mount. You can cut out like that to actually frame pictures. So not only can you do your own paintings, but you can frame them as well. If you've got a framing tool to cut out a square, you can make frames for these. You could paint quite easily on this. If you coated it, you see me doing that on other videos, and then also make a frame as well, which is quite nice. So yeah, just ordinary nice cardboard like that, cheap, inexpensive way to actually do a painting. And that brings me on to the canvas panel. Again, as you can see, that's one of these. This is a brand new one. This is a 16 by 12. It's an artist canvas board, and you can see it's just basically a board with canvas stretched over it. But always prime these before you use them, because you don't know if there's any dust marks or grease spots or anything like that on those. The other thing you can use, which is quite inexpensive as well, is an acrylic pad. You can see which one that is. It's a Winsor & Newton one, and again, this is It feels like canvas, but it's basically a coated paper which you can use, and there's sheets and sheets and sheets and sheets and sheets of that, and you can store that quite well as well. You can store them flat, and the acrylic paintings will last. If you want to practice, one of the best things you can actually practice on is paper. And you can use acrylics as thin as you want on paper, because they're absorbed into the fibres of the material of the paper, and that means you don't have to worry about over thinning your paints. You can paint with them like watercolours if you want to. There we go. What a fantastic day we're having today. So I got my darkest green. I'm going to get some black to that, and I'm going to make these really black now. There we are. I'm going to get a nice dark olivey green like this, and what I'm going to do is just paint an olive, just like that. Using the same techniques as I just mentioned. I will be doing a series of these easy basic paintings for you. As a beginner, what fun are we going to have? And I can give you tips as well along the way. There we go. And we'll just do another one. We'll just do another one here, like this. And paint something like this for one of your friends or family members, so they can put in their kitchen, maybe, to give somebody an olive branch as a gift. Not just a painting, it's a statement as well. There you go. Let's make that one a bit longer, shall we? There we are. These are black olives. So we get some black paint now. Just like this. Simple, effective. Gift, therapy, just to sit in your studio, where you paint, in your kitchen, and in your living room, wherever you paint away the stress of everyday life, and just enjoy doing something creative, not just as gifts or things, but as mental therapy as well. Mental health is a very important thing. It plays a big part, especially in the year we've been having with this pandemic. And there we go. So I'm going to continue just adding a few layers to this now, just to sharpen it all up, to get it ready for my friend, so she can hang it in the kitchen. And what you could do is just get a little bit of a light colour, maybe just put a little bit of just reflection on them like that, or not. It's up to you. Have a bit of fun, play around, add a few more layers. I'm going to continue finishing this off, but I thought that would be a wonderful way to actually use all the questions I get asked answered, and a way to get myself in the studio, paint something for my friend. And as I said, I've got about 6 of these to paint, not this particular one, but I've got others as well, so I might use that, and I might use this format again later on. So thank you very much for joining me in the studio today. Stay away, no, stay safe, stay safe, stay well, and I will see you another day where we paint away the stress of everyday life. So until then, bye.